Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start today by putting a very specific image in your head.
Okay, I'm ready.
I want you to picture a nightclub. It's Saturday night. It's late.
I can see it.
The bass is thumping so hard you can feel it in your chest. The lights are flashing. It's hot. It's sweaty. And the dance floor is just absolutely packed.
Right.
You have that chaotic energy of people moving, drinking, laughing. You know the scene.
A classic scene of modern mating rituals, if we want to get technical right off the bat.
Exactly. But in this specific version of the nightclub, I want you to imagine that looking down from the balcony, kind of hidden in the shadows, there are researchers,
Uh-huh.
serious scientists, maybe in, I don't know, lab coats, holding clipboards, and they are watching the female dancers with this intense focus.
Okay, that just got a little creepy.
It does, but, and this is the key, they aren't looking at their dance moves. They aren't looking at who they're dancing with.
So what are they looking at?
They're measuring something very, very specific. They're measuring the exact amount of bare skin being exposed by these women.
It sounds a bit voyeuristic when you put it that way, doesn't it? Like a scene from a bad sci-fi movie.
Totally.
But yes, this was a legitimate foundational study in the field of evolutionary psychology. They were observing Homo sapiens females in a natural habitat, the club, to see if there were patterns in how they dressed that, even the women themselves weren't consciously aware of.
And here's where it gets really interesting. They didn't just find random noise. They found a pattern,
A predictable pattern.
a predictable pattern. The amount of skin exposed wasn't random. It wasn't just, I like this top, or it's hot inside, or, this is the only clean thing in my
All
closet.
the usual reasons we give.
All the usual reasons, yeah.
Mm.
It varied cyclically. There were times of the month when these women covered up and times when they showed a lot more flesh.
Okay.
And when the researchers cross-referenced this with the women's menstrual cycles, they found the smoking gun.
Who was it?
Women were unconsciously choosing significantly skimpier, more revealing outfits, specifically when they were ovulating.
Exactly. And the key word there, the word that is going to haunt this entire deep dive, is unconsciously.
Yes.
If you stopped one of those women on the dance floor and asked, "Excuse me, why are you wearing that backless dress tonight?" she would probably say, "I felt like it," or
Or I think I look good in it.
"I think I look good in it," or "It's my favorite color." She'd give you a fashion reason, a personal choice reason.
She certainly wouldn't say, well, my luteinizing hormone is peaking and I am signaling high fertility to potential mates to maximize genetic diversity.
Right. If she said that, you'd probably back away slowly. But biologically, that is exactly what is happening. The conscious brain has a narrative about fashion, personal style, and confidence. The biological brain has a rigid, ancient agenda about reproduction.
That is the core premise of what we are diving into today. We are looking at a stack of research that suggests a somewhat terrifying idea. You think you are driving the car, but you might just be a passenger. The source material we are covering today has a central theme that can be summed up in one very provocative sentence. You don't have an orgasm has you.
It's a profound shift in perspective. It really is. We like to think of our romantic and sexual behaviors as the result of complex social choices, romance, love, personal preference.
Right. Does they seem human?
Exactly. We write songs about it, we make movies about it. But the material we are analyzing today, which draws heavily on evolutionary biology and human sperm competition theory, suggests that much of our behavior, from the clothes we wear to the people we cheat with, is controlled by unconscious biological directives.
So we are going to explore the conflict between what the expert calls the ancient brain, the reptile and the mammal parts of us, and the modern self, the neocortex.
That's the battleground.
We're asking the question, how much of our love life is actually just the marionette strings of biology pulling our limbs while we pretend we're dancing?
And just to set the stage, this isn't about removing responsibility. That's a key point.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding the machinery. It's about recognizing that there is a ghost from our evolutionary past standing in the room with us every time we feel an attraction or an impulse.
I like that. A ghost from our evolutionary past.
Yeah.
So let's go back to those dancers for a second. The source compares this behavior, this unconscious decision to show skin and take risks, to what happens in other mammals.
Right.
And honestly, the comparison is wild. It mentions female rats.
Yes. If you look at a female rat during ovulation, her behavior changes drastically. I mean, it's a night and day difference. The source mentions that researchers have set up experiments where the female rat has to crawl over an electrified grid.
An electrified grid, like an electric fence.
An electric fence, essentially,
Yeah.
yes. To reach a male rat.
An electric fence, like
Yeah.
actual pain.
Yes, actual physical pain. Now, when she is not ovulating, she won't do it.
Makes sense?
It hurts. It's dangerous. It's not worth it. She stays on her side, safe and sound.
Smart rat.
But when she is ovulating, she will crawl right over that electricity to get to the mate. The drive to reproduce completely overrides the drive for self-preservation.
That is dedication.
Yeah.
But the source makes a really funny and I think a very pointed observation here. It says, I know a few female Homo sapiens who have put themselves through even more pain to get their paws on a male.
I mean, it's harsh, but it's true.
It is. We see people blowing up their lives, risking their careers, enduring painful shoes or freezing cold weather,
Shoes, absolutely.
waiting in lines, moving across the country, all to get to a partner. We rationalize it as romance, but the rat probably rationalizes it as, I just really need to get to the other side of this cage.
It really connects to the why.
Right.
Why do we do these things? As we said, the woman in the nightclub isn't thinking about reproduction. She's thinking about how she feels.
Right.
The biology manifests as a feeling, a mood. I feel sexy today. I feel daring today. We interpret the chemical signal as a personality trait or a whim, but it's actually a reproductive agenda.
It's the wily female unconscious, as the text calls it. It's fascinating to think that we create these narratives. Oh, I'm just a free spirit. I love this backless dress. And your ovaries are down there like, yes, excellent. The trap is set.
It highlights the separation between our conscious narrative, which is usually about fashion or social status, and the biological reality, which is almost entirely about signaling fertility and availability.
And this unconscious drive doesn't stop at the wardrobe.
No.
It goes much, much deeper.
Oh, much deeper.
No, it definitely doesn't. And this leads us to a topic that might make some listeners squirm,
Oh,
but we have to go there.
we do.
We have to talk about sperm competition.
Yeah.
The source references a book with the incredibly romantic title, Human Sperm Competition, Copulation, Masturbation, and Infidelity.
A coffee table classic, I'm sure. Great for first dates if you want to ensure there isn't a second one.
The source writer jokes that, as a guy, those are his three main interests and one hobby, but the concept of sperm competition is serious science.
It is.
So can you break down what that actually means for us? Because we usually think of competition as, two guys fighting in a bar, not something happening internally.
Right. Exactly. Ideally, in a monogamous pairing, there is no sperm competition. There's only one male sperm present, so there's no race. But biologically, humans evolved in groups where that wasn't always the case. So sperm competition is exactly what it sounds like. The biological battle between the sperm of different males to fertilize a single egg inside the female reproductive tract.
A literal war inside the body.
A war. And our bodies, both male and female, have evolved these elaborate mechanisms to win this war, often without us knowing the war is even happening.
Okay, so this source brings up a British study that absolutely blew my mind. They looked at 3,679 women.
That is a huge sample size.
It's huge. This isn't just a survey of 10 people in a pub. And they found a statistical correlation regarding cheating.
This is one of those findings that makes you realize how powerful the biological imperative is. It really is. The study found that wives are statistically more likely to cheat on their husbands during their 4-day window of peak fertility.
So just like the nightclub dancers showing more skin.
Exactly the same principle.
Wives are more likely to stray exactly when they can get pregnant.
Correct. But here's the kicker, and this ties back to the sperm competition theory. The study also found that these women are more likely to have simultaneous orgasms with the lover than with the husband.
Whoa. Okay, we need to pause on that. Simultaneous orgasms. That's like the holy grail, right? Why is that happening more with the affair partner? Is it just the excitement? The novelty?
Well, we'll get into the mechanics of why the orgasm matters in a minute. It's not just about pleasure, it's a mechanism. But the implication is that the body is trying to facilitate conception with the new genetics.
Wow.
But what's fascinating is that the husband's body fights back.
Yes. The husband's biological countermove. This part read like a spy novel.
Yeah.
The source talks about what happens when a husband hasn't seen his wife for a few days.
Right. So let's say the husband goes away on a business trip. He's gone for 3 days, 4 days, whatever.
Okay.
When he comes back and they have sex, his body produces a very specific response. He ejaculates 3 times as much sperm as normal.
3 times. That's a massive increase.
It's a huge increase. And it's not just because he's saved it up, so to speak.
I was going to ask that.
Even if he has masturbated during the trip to keep the tank low, the volume during intercourse with the wife spikes. And the question is why?
Why?
Because the unconscious biological calculation is, I have been away, she's been unguarded, there might be competitor sperm in there, I need to flood the zone to outcompete them.
That is wild. The
Mhm.
body is suspicious, even if the mind isn't.
Precisely.
He could trust her completely. He could be thinking, oh, I missed her so much. I'm so happy to see her. But his testicles are thinking, enemy at the gates. Deploy the troops.
Precisely. It's an unconscious biological defense mechanism. The conscious mind says love, the biological machinery says competition.
And that suggests something pretty profound about our history, right?
It suggests that for our ancestors, infidelity was common enough that men evolved a physiological mechanism to counter it. Evolution doesn't build complex defense systems for threats that don't exist.
That is a really sobering thought.
Yeah.
But we need to look at the other side of this biological equation,
The female side.
the female side. This brings us to the mechanics of the female orgasm itself. The source says something that I think changes how we look at sex entirely. It says the female orgasm isn't just for pleasure, it's a tool for sperm allocation.
This is where we get into the upsuck theory, which is as fascinating as it is controversial in some scientific circles. For a long time, evolutionary biologists were puzzled by the female orgasm. Well, in many species, it's not necessary for conception. A female cat doesn't need to enjoy the experience to get pregnant. She just needs to ovulate. So why do human females have this complex, intense physiological response?
Okay, good question.
The source argues it's a selection mechanism. It's a gatekeeper.
A gatekeeper. I like that. So the orgasm is the bouncer at the club deciding who gets into the VIP section.
That is a perfect analogy. That's exactly it. The source explains that a woman's orgasm can either block sperm or suck sperm deeper toward the ovaries.
Block or suck, so it can be a wall or a vacuum.
A wall or a vacuum. And the deciding factor, the code to get past the bouncer, is timing.
The stopwatch concept. I joked earlier about needing a timer on the nightstand, but the source actually lays out a specific timeline. It's almost like a launch sequence at NASA.
It really is.
Let's walk through these scenarios in detail. Scenario A, the woman orgasms too early.
Right. So let's say the woman reaches climax more than 1 minute before the male ejaculates. In this scenario, the muscular contractions associated with her orgasm actually work to block the sperm. The cervix, which is the gateway to the uterus, tends to close up or the contractions push outward.
It pushes them away.
Essentially, the body is saying, no thanks, the pleasure was there, the bonding was there, but the reproductive door is slamming shut before the genetic payload even arrives.
Okay, so being too good in bed, getting her there way before you get there, might actually be bad for reproduction. That's a paradox.
It is a paradox. From a purely sperm transport perspective, finishing too early puts up a roadblock.
Okay, let's look at scenario B then. The perfect timing. The Hollywood ending.
This is the upsuck in action. If she orgasms just before or simultaneously with the male, something physically distinct happens.
What's that?
The cervix dips down into the seminal pool that the male has just deposited. At the same time, the orgasmic contractions create a vacuum effect, a literal suction, that pulls the sperm rapidly upward into the uterus.
It's like a vacuum tube at the bank drive-thru.
It really is. It's an amazing piece of biological engineering. It gives the sperm a massive head start. Instead of swimming the whole way, they get a high-speed elevator ride past the cervix and into the fallopian tubes.
And this is why that statistic we mentioned earlier
About cheating wives having simultaneous orgasms.
is so significant.
Yes. It means their bodies are effectively trying to fast-track the lover's DNA.
So if you are the husband and you are having nice, lazy Sunday morning sex and you finish and she hasn't, and then she doesn't, the sperm have to swim the hard way, the long way.
The long and arduous journey, yes.
But if she's with the gutter guy, we'll get to him later, and the excitement is high and they finish together, his sperm get the express lane.
That is the harsh reality of the biology described here. It biases the race in favor of the partner who elicits that specific timing.
And then there is scenario C, which the source calls the backup plan. Because, let's be honest, simultaneous orgasms are tricky. They are the unicorn of sexual encounters for many people.
They are rare, and biology knows this. We aren't machines. There has to be some flexibility.
So what's the backup?
Nature provided a window. If the male finishes first, which is the most common scenario biologically, the woman has about 45 minutes.
45 minutes, that's a generous window.
It is pretty generous. If she orgasms within that 45-minute window after his ejaculation, The upsuck effect still works. It can pull the stationary sperm in.
Okay.
But, and here's the catch, if she waits longer than 45 minutes, if she falls asleep or goes to make a sandwich and then orgasms an hour later,
The window closes.
the window closes, the cervix blocks again, the opportunity for that assisted transport is gone.
So literally, if you are a guy and you want to pass on your genes, you have a deadline. You have 45 minutes to ensure she crosses the finish line, or your swimmers are on their own.
In a way, yes. It's a biological deadline. The source puts it humorously, but it's a serious point. If the timing is off too early or too late, the biology signals that the female wants the male's support, but not his sperm.
Support, but not sperm. That is a brutal distinction. I feel like that should be on a t-shirt for the friend zone.
It's the difference between a partner and a donor, biologically speaking. The body might be saying, I like you, you're a great companion, you'll help raise the kids, you bring home the bacon, but I don't necessarily want your specific genetic coding right now.
It really reframes the closeness of the act. We think of aftercare and cuddling as emotional bonding, which they are.
Absolutely.
But the biology is sitting there with a stopwatch calculating genetic probabilities.
And this leads us directly to the statistics on monogamy versus adultery, because the source makes a very clear distinction between quantity and productivity.
Right.
And I think this is where the listeners need to really pay attention, because it challenges the narrative that, cheaters never win.
Biologically, they sort of do.
In this one metric, yes.
Right. But let's start with the good news. It says monogamy wins on quantity. This validates the married people.
It does. If you just look at the raw numbers, a woman's orgasm rate is roughly 2 times higher in monogamous relationships compared to casual or open ones.
2 times higher.
And it's 4 to 5 times higher in marriage than in single life.
Why is that? Is it just practice or comfort?
It's comfort. It's safety. It's knowing the partner. In a monogamous bond, the woman feels safe enough to let go. The male knows her body better. There's less anxiety. All of that contributes to a higher frequency of orgasms.
So the data says if you want more orgasms, get married.
That's what the data says. It's the most reliable path to quantity.
But, and here comes the sledgehammer, adultery wins on productivity.
This is the uncomfortable data point. Despite having fewer orgasms overall in an affair context, potentially because they meet less often, the orgasms that do happen with adulterous lovers are chemically and physically different.
Different how?
They retain 3 times as much sperm as orgasms with husbands.
3 times the retention. That isn't a small margin. That is a landslide.
It is a massive biological preference. It suggests that while the mind and the social self prefer the husband for safety and frequency, the reproductive tract prefers the lover for genetic intake.
This connects back to the dual strategy hypothesis. Can we go deeper on that? Because it sounds like you are saying women are, programmed to live a double life.
It's a controversial theory, but it fits the data that's being presented. The hypothesis is that ancestral females faced a dilemma.
Okay, what was the dilemma?
The men with the best genes, the highest testosterone, the biggest muscles, the most dominant immune systems were often not the best dads. They might be aggressive, unfaithful, or prone to dying in fights.
The cad, the bad boy.
The cad, exactly. On the other hand, the men who were willing to stick around, protect the cave, hold the baby, and share their food, the dads, might not have the super aggressive genetic profile that survives a plague or a war.
So the female strategy unconsciously became, why not both?
Exactly. Why choose? The husband sex primarily serves to maintain the pair bond. It keeps the male around, it produces oxytocin, it ensures he provides resources. It's about security.
And the other kind?
Lover sex, on the other hand, is primarily about acquiring superior genetics, the good genes hypothesis.
So biological impulses get the stability from the nice guy who stays, but get the immune system and the jawline from the dangerous guy who wanders.
It's crude, but essentially yes. The source says if both resources and genes come in the same male, that's fine. And that happens. Many people find a partner who is both a great genetic match and a great support system.
That's the jackpot.
That is the jackpot.
But the source adds, if not, fantasies arise.
And biology might encourage this double mating strategy. One male for the nest, another for the offspring. And you have to remember, in the ancient world, there were no paternity tests.
Right.
If a woman could secure the cad's genes but raise the child with the dad's resources, that was a winning evolutionary strategy for her DNA.
It's Machiavellian. It's pure strategy.
It's nature. Nature is ruthless. It doesn't care about fairness. It cares about survival.
Which is a terrifying thought for anyone in a relationship. But it explains the internal conflict so many people feel.
Yeah.
It explains why someone can love their spouse deeply, truly love them, and still feel this magnetic, inexplicable pull towards someone who is arguably worse for them.
That's the key. The pull isn't toward a better person, it's toward a different genetic profile.
So we've sufficiently freaked out the husbands regarding what their wives' bodies might be plotting.
I think so.
But we need to turn the spotlight on the men, because the source doesn't let the guys off the hook. It describes the male brain not as a calculated strategist, but as a chaotic battleground between two distinct entities, the reptile and the mammal.
I love this framing. It's so visual. And I think every man listening and every woman who has ever met a man will recognize this duality immediately.
Break it down for us. Who are these two characters fighting for control of the joystick in the male brain?
Okay, so first you have the mammal brain. This is the limbic system, the part of us that evolved later in our history. The mammal is the good guy.
The nice.
The nice guy. He cares about bonding. He cares about emotional connection. He wants to please the partner. He wants to cuddle. He wants to hang on during sex to ensure the partner is satisfied because he values the relationship.
He's the romantic. He's the one buying flowers.
He is. But then, underneath him, sitting in the basement of the skull, is the reptilian brain, the brainstem. The reptile is ancient. It dates back to before we were even mammals.
And the reptile's goal is?
The reptile doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about flowers. It has one single burning agenda. Get sperm in there quick.
Efficiency over romance.
Pure efficiency. The source says the reptile's motto is pair bond, schmer bond. It sees an opportunity to procreate, and its only goal is to complete the transaction as fast as possible to minimize risk and ensure the genes are passed.
And this creates a physical tension in the bedroom. It's not just a mental struggle, it's physiological.
It does, a huge one. The source notes that male orgasm, the reptile function, has been around a lot longer than deep relationships. So there's a constant fight. The man is physically trying to delay gratification. He is fighting his own biology.
How so?
Well, the mammal is shouting, "Wait, we need to connect. She hasn't finished yet." While the reptile is screaming, "Mission accomplished, eject, eject."
And the source has this hilarious haiku about how this changes with age. I felt this in my soul. I have to read it again.
Please do.
Before 35, my dick woke up before me. Now my dick sleeps in.
It's funny, but it tracks perfectly with the biological shifts in testosterone.
It does, right?
In young men, testosterone is at its peak. The reptile is very loud, it's aggressive, it wakes up ready to go. As men age, testosterone levels drop and the drive becomes more integrated with the mammalian need for connection. The reptile gets a bit lazy.
It gets tired.
It starts to sleep in.
So in a way, older men are better lovers because the reptile's tired.
Biologically, yes. They are less hijacked by the urgency of the seed-spreading instinct, which allows the mammal brain, the connection brain, to have more influence over the encounter.
But for those younger guys, or anyone dealing with an overactive reptile, the source talks about coping mechanisms, how men deal with this internal hijacker. And it mentions the distraction technique.
Yeah.
The author lists Yankee baseball player batting averages.
We've all heard versions of this. Think about baseball. Think about grandma. Do multiplication tables in your head. It's a cultural trope.
A total trope.
But think about why that works. The source says something profound here. The second a man thinks about what he's actually doing, it's over.
Because if he focuses on the act, if he focuses on the sensation, the reptile takes the wheel.
Exactly. The reptile is the sensation. To enjoy the sex and maintain the bond, which is the mammal goal, the man has to mentally disengage from the biological urgency. He has to split his mind.
So one part is present.
One part is present, physically, but his consciousness has to go somewhere else, to Yankee Stadium, to keep the reptile from ending the show.
That is profound. To enjoy sex, a man must not think about it. It explains so much about the male psyche. It creates this weird paradox where to be a good lover, you have to be slightly absent.
And the source takes it a step further and asks a poignant question. Can you blame us if we extend the strategy to relationships?
Oof, that is hard.
If men are trained by their own biology to distract themselves to make sex work, maybe that emotional distance sometimes bleeds into the relationship itself.
Right.
Maybe the stoic, distant male archetype is partly a side effect of trying to control the reptile.
We are fighting a war inside our own heads, and the collateral damage is emotional intimacy.
It's a plausible theory. The biology requires a certain level of detachment to function socially and sexually in a way that aligns with modern expectations.
So men are distracting themselves with baseball to keep from finishing too soon. Women are timing their orgasms with a stopwatch to select genes. It all sounds very calculated, very cold.
It can.
But we have to pivot to the thing that is supposed to make it all warm and fuzzy. Love.
Love, the great redeemer.
Or so we think. But the source argues the opposite. It says love makes us stupid. It doesn't say love is blind. It says love is dumb. And it tells the story of the biochemist genius.
This is such a relatable story. The author has a friend who is a genius biochemist. We are talking about someone who aces every test, understands complex molecular structures, probably has a PhD.
A certified smart person.
A very smart person.
But then she falls in love.
She falls for a guy. And suddenly this genius is saying things that make no sense. The author quotes her gushing, "Did you see how he put mustard on his sandwich? I mean, mustard, that's so him."
Mustard? That's so him.
I love that.
As if mustard is a personality trait. As if mustard is a sign of a deep soul.
It's absurd. But we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all looked at a partner doing something totally mundane, tying their shoes, drinking coffee, and thought, oh my God, they're the most incredible human being on earth.
So why does this happen? Why does the biochemist lose her IQ points when she looks at this guy?
The source argues that her nose has picked up pheromones.
The immune system check. We've talked about this before.
Yes. We are attracted to people with immune systems that are complementary to our own, specifically the MHC genes, major histocompatibility complex.
Right.
If your immune system covers A, B, and C, you want a partner whose immune system covers X, Y, and Z. This ensures the offspring have a super immune system that covers the whole alphabet.
So her nose has smelled him and decided this is the genetic match, this is the father.
Correct. Her nose has decided. But here's the problem. The nose, the biological instinct, and the brain, the neocortex, have different goals.
Okay.
The neocortex is designed for social strategy. It looks at a guy and evaluates. Is he kind? Is he employed? Is he reliable? Will he be a good partner?
And the nose. What does the nose care about?
The nose doesn't care about employment. The nose cares about antibodies.
So you have a conflict. The brain says he's a loser. The nose says he's the one.
And this is where the stupid gene kicks in. The source calls it that. When the genes need to breed, they cannot risk your neocortex talking you out of it.
Why not?
If the village idiot has the perfect immune system match, the genes are terrified that your brain will realize, wait, this spells social suicide. I can't be with the village idiot.
So the genes sabotage the brain.
They stage a coup. They flood the brain with dopamine, oxytocin, and adrenaline. They create the sensation of love. They make you stupid enough to overlook the red flags so you will mate.
So love's function is to make you irrational.
The biological function of love, according to this text, is to make you passionate, impulsive, and irrational.
So love isn't this divine intervention that elevates us above the animals. It's a chemical blindfold to drag us down to their level.
In this specific evolutionary context, yes. The source compares us to lizards. Lizards don't fall in love. They don't write poetry. They don't pine for each other.
Why?
Because they don't need to. They are already stupid. And I'm using that in the source's terms, meaning they are purely instinct-driven. They smell a mate. They mate. They don't have a neocortex analyzing the social implications of the lizard they're mating with.
What we do.
We are too smart for our own good. We would rationalize ourselves out of mating with genetically viable but socially awkward partners. So evolution gave us love as a mechanism to override our intelligence.
That explains every bad relationship I've ever seen. You see a friend dating someone terrible and he asks why, and they say, I just love him.
And that is the only answer that matters to the genes. I just love him translates to my immune system has identified a target and my neocortex has been temporarily disabled.
It's humbling. We think we are these rational agents, but we are just chemistry sets with anxiety.
It is humbling, but it also helps us understand the why. Why do smart people do dumb things in love? It's not a character flaw. It's a feature of the software.
We have been talking about cheating, sperm wars, reptilian brains, and love making us stupid. And I feel like we are painting a picture of humanity that is, well, a bit animalistic.
It can seem that way.
And that leads us to the moral landscape. Because there is a danger here. If we say it's just biology, does that mean it's okay?
This is the most critical distinction the source makes, and we have to be really clear about this. Explanation is not justification.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Explanation is not justification. Just because we can explain the biological roots of a behavior does not mean we are endorsing it. The source is very explicit about this.
It lists things that are natural. Disease is natural. Polio is natural.
Exactly. Ebola is natural. Hurricanes are natural. Murder is natural.
Murder is natural.
In the animal kingdom,
Oh, no.
absolutely. Chimpanzees murder each other. Humans have murdered each other for millennia. It is a natural behavior in the sense that it exists in nature, but that does not mean it is good.
So natural does not equal good.
Not at all. Genes are amoral. They don't have a conscience. They don't have a Bible or a constitution. They created murderous rage because it helped ancestors survive in certain situations. But they also created loyalty and compassion because those also help survival. Both are tools in the toolkit.
The source puts it beautifully. The gene is so amoral, it constructed both morality and immorality to serve itself.
That is a chilling line. The gene doesn't care if you are a saint or a sinner as long as you reproduce, but we care. We are not just our genes. We are our societies, our values, our choices.
And this leads to the final powerful metaphor in the text, the gutter guy.
The gutter guy at the door. This brings it all together. It's the whole conflict in one scene.
Set the scene for us one last time.
Imagine a woman is at home. She is safe. She is married. She has a nest. Then there is a knock at the door. It's the gutter guy, a metaphor for that raw genetic opportunity.
Right.
Maybe it's an ex, maybe it's a stranger, maybe it's a coworker. He represents the good genes, but the bad life choice.
And the conflict kicks in.
Immediately, the bird brain, the ancient instinct, says, open the robe. It screams for the genetic material. It wants to play the lottery.
But the human brain.
But the neocortex, the modern human brain, says, don't do it. Think about your marriage. Think about the pair bond. Think about the security you will lose. Think about the pain you will cause.
The text mentions that we carry the history of these choices in our bodies. It talks about testicle size and size difference.
Right. It's a bit graphic, but it's scientifically relevant. The size of human testicles, which are relatively large compared to some primates like gorillas, suggests that our male ancestors dealt with sperm competition.
Why is that?
Gorillas have tiny testicles because the alpha male has no competition. He owns the harem. Chimps have massive testicles because they live in chaotic groups where everyone mates with everyone.
And humans.
Humans are in the middle, leaning toward the chimp side. That means adultery happened enough that men needed big tanks to compete. On the flip side, the size difference between men and women, men being larger, suggests a history of aggression or physical dominance. We carry the scars of these ancient strategies in our actual anatomy.
And so, standing at that door, the woman feels two internal signals. They are physical.
Yes, she feels the wail of the orgasm, the promise of pleasure and genetic payoff. That voice says, sluttiness paid off evolutionarily for your ancestors, do it.
And the other voice.
But she also feels the surge in the heart. That voice says, faithfulness paid off, love paid off, safety paid off, don't risk it.
Both voices are real. Both are ancient.
And that is the human condition. We are caught in the tug of war. We are the rope.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener driving to work or doing the dishes or lying in bed next to their partner, what's the takeaway?
I think it means we need to be kinder to ourselves about our impulses, but stricter with our actions. You aren't a bad person for feeling the pull of the gutter guy or the reptile. That's just your wiring. It's the marionette strings. You didn't install the strings.
But you are the one who decides whether to dance.
Exactly. The source asks, is it you making the choice? Or is it a ghost from your evolutionary past? Awareness breaks the spell. That's the power of the neocortex. It can observe the impulse and say, I see you, biology. I see what you're trying to do, but I'm going to pass.
We aren't rats on an electric fence. We can see the fence.
We can see the fence. And we can decide not to crawl over it. We can choose the relationship over the gene. We can choose the heart over the hormone.
That is a powerful place to leave it. We've covered everything from nightclub fashion to sperm wars, but it really comes down to that moment of choice.
It always does. The biology sets the stage, but we write the script.
I want to thank you for guiding us through this sticky terrain today. It was eye-opening, to say the least.
My pleasure. Always fun to explore the reptile brain.
And to you, the listener, next time you feel a sudden urge to buy a new wardrobe during ovulation, or you find yourself making irrational excuses for a new crush, ask yourself, who is really in charge right now? Is it you, or is it the biology? Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Stay curious.